Okay, so in this second recording, we're going to talk about the last couple of lines of our first SAS program here. And this is called a procedure step. SAS programs can consist of data steps and procedure steps. What's a data step? One more reminder, a data step is where you have programming statements which either create or modify data sets. They don't perform any analyses. But procedure steps are where you perform analyses. Procedure steps are where you can analyze the data that you created in the data step. Clear? We have a very trivial data step here. It's a print procedure. So when you see the words proc print, that means that you're calling the print procedure in SAS. This creates an on-screen printout of your data. The way to the proper way to type this this procedure step in is to start with the keywords proc and print. And then it's good practice to specifically identify the data set which you want this procedure to print out the data for. So you do that by typing in the keyword data, followed by an equal sign. And then after the equal sign, you name the data set. What was our data set called? Well, the data set was lab2_sore_throat. But it was in the work library, so the full specification of the data set is work.lab2_sore_throat. Don't forget to end with a semicolon. And then you need the run statement, followed by a semicolon. It's quite simple. I know that's not a very exciting data step, but we'll have, procedure step, but we'll have other slightly more interesting procedure steps coming up in the next recording. What I want to do right now, since I haven't actually run any of this program, I want to go ahead and run it, and I want to show you what to, how you work through the results. Or what you should do once you've run a program. So let's go ahead and run it. You can either click on this running person button on the toolbar, or you can go to the menu option for run. There it is. And click on that. And then you can click on submit there. That's the same thing as clicking on the running person button on the toolbar. So I've clicked on submit, and you get this output. So this is exactly as you saw in the notes, except that I'm doing this particular run at a different time than the run in the notes. So you see this is obviously just a listing. You get the 4 variables that were in the data set, and you get all of the values for each of those 4 variables. There were 8 observations right here. Notice SAS adds one more column that maybe you weren't expecting. It's called the observation column, the obs column, and that's just an observation number. That's actually not a variable in your data set, folks. That's just an observation number right here. Okay, just to help for readability with this printout. So it's usually a good idea to print out at least a small or moderate-sized data set, well, probably a small-sized data set, after you've entered it, just so you can peruse the contents and make sure that you didn't make any grievous errors in creating the data set, that kind of thing. Now I see I've already broken one of my rules, which is to never look at the output that SAS gives you when you run a procedure. At least don't do that right off the bat. First, you should always check the log window to make sure there were no errors. Sometimes you could get output even if there are errors or warnings in your log window. We should have checked the log window first, so I'm going to backtrack and do that right now. What you hope to see in the log window is nothing but blue notes, and okay, there's black print here too. That's just SAS regurgitates parts of your program, but blue notes are fine. In fact, we should look at them. Some of them are interesting. SAS says the dataset work.lab_sore_throat has 8 observations. Does that make sense? Yeah, that sounds right. 8 observations, 8 children, and 4 variables. Does that make sense? Yeah, there were 4 variables: the subject, the age, the daycare variable, and the sore throat variable. It's good to confirm that. And then there are other notes which say things like, the CPU time taken, etc. Those are sort of uninteresting to us, at least. If you had seen red messages here, those would have indicated some kind of error that SAS had detected in your code. So you need to do your best to read that error message and figure out what SAS is trying to tell you. It's not always easy. SAS doesn't print very user-friendly error messages a lot of the time, unfortunately. Nevertheless, it's your job to resolve those error messages. And then sometimes it'll print green warning messages, and those also need to be read by you and understood and resolved if necessary. A warning could indicate that you should not be trusting any output that SAS has produced, or it may just be an innocuous thing that you don't have to worry about. Your job will be to figure out how to resolve all these warnings and errors. Warnings in green, errors in red. Those are the default colors, but it is possible to change those colors, so be careful. All right, so I've checked the log window. Everything actually here looks good. I've checked the output. I know it wasn't all that exciting, but now I have a printout of my data. In the next recording, we're going to learn to take this analysis a little bit further, calculate some means, say for age, look at some frequency tables for the subject, daycare, and sore throat variables. That's coming up next.